Greetings from the Washington, D.C. area, the ancestral lands of the Anacostans, Piscataway, and Pamunkey peoples. My name is Gami Shrestha, speaking on behalf of the Carbon Cycle Interagency Working Groups, Interagency CDR Research Coordination Workstream. I would like to acknowledge my co-presenters, Dwight Gledhill, Noel Gerwig, Monica Kopach, Judy Drexler, and Anne Marsh. In this talk, I will discuss some of our US government-led interagency efforts and strategies for advancing our science of carbon dioxide removal to inform climate change decisions and actions. First, a bit about us. The mission of the US Carbon Cycle Science Program and the Carbon Cycle Interagency Working Group is to coordinate and facilitate federally funded carbon cycle research and provide leadership to the US Global Change Research Program on carbon cycle science priorities. We support the implementation of the 1990 Global Change Research Act to understand, assess, predict, and respond to human-induced and natural processes of global change. Recently, we launched the Interagency CDR Research Coordination Workstream to explore, advance, and inform interagency CDR coordination strategies. This timeline illustrates our related historical interagency efforts that directly or indirectly prepared the groundwork for this interagency CDR research strategy coordination. As the second State of the Carbon Cycle report assessed, changes in climate, human activities, and ecosystem responses will alter the carbon cycle and future long-term removals of carbon by current land and ocean system sinks. Understanding the mechanisms and consequences of such carbon cycle effects provides opportunities to make informed and innovative carbon management and policy decisions. Last year, we asked ourselves, how do we start developing multi-agency research agendas that can leverage what we know so far about the carbon cycle and begin to develop new opportunities that will inform future carbon dioxide removal strategies. These activities bring us steps closer to that vision. We are addressing the current and future multidisciplinary CDR research needs and opportunities around the following topics: natural climate solutions, including public lands and engineered approaches based on carbon cycle science, practitioners, businesses, and government entities demonstrating the use of partnerships, observational capabilities across atmospheric, oceanic, terrestrial, and societal dimensions, decision-maker readiness, including social sciences. Comprising over 30 federal colleagues from government programs conducting or funding CDR-relevant research, this workstream meets on a bi-weekly basis to strategize bilateral and multilateral interagency CDR research progress and opportunities for collaboration and coordination. During the summer of 2021, many of us contributed to the recent congressionally requested US Department of Energy-led interagency report on CDR, which is currently being drafted. In December of 2020, we launched the first federal CDR data call encompassing federally funded research, including observations and management activities pertinent to studying, informing, or evaluating CDR. Based on the enthusiastic responses to this data call, we are now in the process of finalizing the first interagency CDR research compendium. This tool highlights federal efforts to advance CDR science, informing actions that respond to climate change and provides a platform for the analysis of gaps and opportunities in federally funded CDR research. We are also working on a perspective piece related to this. Really, the goal of all that we're doing is twofold. First, to support and advance a whole of government approach for coordination and collaboration in CDR research and science to inform emerging CDR practices technologies, and strategies. And 2, to raise awareness of decades of US government-funded research, observations, models, tools, and mechanisms that could inform emerging CDR conversations, priorities, strategies, and so much more across the US government, the USGS, and among partners and stakeholders. Here is an overview of the data so far. Most of the CDR project's data entered into the compendium so far was submitted by US Department of Agriculture colleagues, but other US agencies were not that far behind. Funding and interest for CDR-related projects is increasing across all the major agencies with carbon research portfolios. For instance, the Department of Energy announced the Negative Emissions Shop initiative recently. The National Institute of Standards and Technology is focused on measurements. NOAA has established an internal CDR task force. The US Geological Survey focuses on geologic and biological carbon sequestration. NASA leads the carbon monitoring system, as well as many other related observational platforms to study impacts of different management practices. At NSF, multiple directorates are involved in funding many CDR-related activities. On the horizon, there are plans and discussions for future federal and interdisciplinary CDR workshops and potential joint research funding calls. Our interagency CDR research compendium is still accepting federal submissions on a rolling basis, so this compendium data will be continuously updated and should not be cited. For now, we could say that there appears to be an abundance of federally funded terrestrial CDR-related research activities. Marine CDR-related research project numbers are not too far behind and are seeing much rising interest, especially following the US National Academy of Sciences Ocean CDR report released last week, which endorsed, quote unquote, hacking the oceans as a climate change solution. Furthermore, there is an urgent need to better understand uncertainties in measurement of carbon stocks and emissions related to CDR. There is also a dearth of data and research related to impacts of CDR on local and disadvantaged or marginalized communities. A Washington Post investigation released last month revealed a giant gap between what nations declare their emissions to be versus the greenhouse gases they are sending into the atmosphere, quote unquote, as high as 13.3 billion tons a year of underreported emissions, large enough to move the needle on how the Earth will eventually warm. This makes CDR even more important and relevant. But first, we have to accurately measure and assess where, how, and how much CO2 is emitted and distributed in the atmosphere globally, as well as how much data can be visibly, how much carbon can be visibly sequestered into terrestrial and oceanic ecosystems with minimal negative impacts to ecosystems and people, and how to do all that. Lastly, we are still analyzing the federal CDR data that we're receiving so far, but it's clear that there are research and coordination outcomes and opportunities that we could harness and scale up efficiently and effectively, employing dedicated multi-agency and multidisciplinary CDR research strategies. As the White House OSCP director, Dr. Eric Lander, told the AGU audience yesterday, the world needs ferocious innovation and deployment. I will leave with a question. Similar to other interagency teams under the auspices of the US Global Change Research Program, we support the implementation of the 1990 Global Change Research Act to understand, assess, predict, and respond to human-induced and natural processes of global change. How can we expand on that? How can we do that better? That's a question for all of you. Thank you. Please contact me directly at gshreestha@usgcrp.gov if you have questions, ideas, or are interested in collaborating. Thank you.